read great books. Really, man. You've got this 4-year period that has been carved out of your lives by society. It's given you an identity, like a high-quality identity, and freedom at the same time. Man, you're not going to get that again in your life. You've got a respectable identity, university student, and complete freedom associated with that, or as near as you're ever going to get. And you've got these unbelievable libraries that are full of the writings of people who are intelligent and articulate beyond comprehension. And you know, and you can go there and you can learn all this. And you might think, well, why should you learn it? Well, you learn it to get a job, or you learn it to get good grades, or you learn it to get a degree, and that's all nonsense. It's nonsense. The reason that you come to university to be educated is because there is nothing more powerful than someone who is articulate and who can think and speak. It's power, and I mean power of the best sort. It's authority and influence and respectability and competence. And so you come to university to craft your highest skill, and your highest skill is to be found in articulated speech. And if you're a master at formulating your arguments, you win everything. And better than that, when you win everything, everyone around you wins too. Because to transform yourself into, let's consider your transformation into something approximating the logos, it means you shine a light on the whole world. Well, there's nothing more exciting to do than that. There's nothing better you can possibly do. And to think that you're coming to university to be, you know, trained to have a job, it's like, great, that's a hell of a lot better than being unemployed and covered with Cheeto dust while you're snacking away in front of your video game in the basement. But it's not a, and I don't have anything against video games, by the way, but but it's hardly a triumphant call to being in the world, and that's what university should be calling forth. It's like, God, you people, you know, I know what Harvard students are like. I taught here for 5 years. You people are spectacular. You're spectacular. You're all capable of being world beaters. You transform yourself into something that's articulated and sensible and grounded in history and knowledgeable and wise, man. You can do anything you want, and hopefully anything you want for good. Because if you have any sense, everything you want to do would be for the good, because there's nothing more compelling or meaningful or useful in combating the tragedy of life than to struggle with all your soul on behalf of the good. And the universities have forgotten that. It's why everyone's bailing out of the humanities, and they should. The humanities are corrupt. And they're corrupt because they're not telling students this. It's so bloody obvious. It's like, learn to think, learn to speak, learn to read. It makes you a superpower, an individual superpower. You have and I don't understand why that isn't just told to students. It's not that hard to understand, and everyone wants to hear it. It's like, really, I could do that? I could do that? It's like, yeah, really, you could do that. And the whole society around you has labored for really thousands of years to provide every single one of you with this spectacular opportunity that you have while you're undergraduates and graduate students here, man. Everyone's just praying that you would come here and manifest everything that you could manifest. And that's what you should be doing, instead of waving placards and complaining about how you're oppressed, for God's sake. You see these Yale students complaining about their oppression. It just leaves me aghast. It's like, just don't understand what's happened to the universities. I can't believe that you're not told when you come the first day, look, man, you're here on a heroic mission. You're going to take your capacity to articulate yourself to levels that are undreamed of. You're going to come out of here unstoppable. You're going to be able to do anything you want. It's like, that's what you're here for. Instead, you're taught that, well, you know, the world's a pretty oppressive place, and you're probably the bottom of the victim pile, and there's virtually nothing you can do about it except, you know, deconstruct the patriarchy. And it's so weak-kneed and so pathetic that universities should be embarrassed that that's what they're peddling to students. I'm embarrassed by it. You know, I've gone on public record telling parents, bloody well send your boys to trade school, because at least they'll learn something useful. And that's a terrible thing for someone like me to say, because I do believe that being articulated and educated in the highest possible manner there's nothing that's better for you and for society. And why have the universities forgotten this? Well, that's postmodern neo-Marxism for you, you know. Then the philosophy of intense resentment and oppression and group identity, and God, it's just pathetic. The best way to teach people critical thinking is to teach them to write. And I made this little thing that I put online. It's I don't know if maybe is it in the Psych 434 website? Did I post that rubric for essay writing?
But I don't think it actually went through. I think but it is still on 430. That's how I got
Is it not on 434? Is that not working?
The email must not have gone through when you were doing it.
Oh.
Yeah, but I still found it. It's still in 430.
Oh, okay. Well, there's an essay. Oh, that's too bad. It's not on the Psych 434 website even?
I didn't check.
Because I updated it. Anyways, I have this guide to writing that if it isn't on the 434 website, it is definitely on the 430 website. And it steps people through the process of writing. Because what's happened now, it's very hard to teach people to write because it's unbelievably time intensive. And like marking a good essay, that's really easy. Check A. You did everything right. Marking a bad essay? Oh my God. The words are wrong, the phrases are wrong, the sentences are wrong, they're not ordered right in the paragraphs aren't coherent, and the whole thing makes no sense. So trying to tell the person what they did wrong, it's like, well, you did everything wrong. Everything about this essay is wrong. Well, that's not helpful either. You have to find the few little things they did half right, and you have to teach them what they did wrong. It's really expensive. And so what I did with this rubric was try to address that from the production side instead of the grading side. But the best thing you can do is teach people to write, because there's no difference between that and thinking. And one of the things that just blows me away about universities is that no one ever tells students why they should write something. It's like, well, you have to do this assignment. Well, why are you writing? Well, you need the grade. It's like, no, you need to learn to think. Because thinking makes you act effectively in the world. Thinking makes you win the battles you undertake. And those could be battles for good things. If you can think and speak and write, you are absolutely deadly. Nothing can get in your way. So that's why you learn to write. It's like, and I can't believe that people aren't just told that. It's like, it's the most powerful weapon you can possibly provide someone with. And I mean, I know lots of people who've been staggeringly successful and watched them throughout my life. I mean, those people, you don't want to have an argument with them. They'll just slash you into pieces. And not in a malevolent way. It's like, if you're going to make your point and they're going to make their point, you better have your points organized, because otherwise you are going to look like and be an absolute idiot. You are not going to get anywhere. And if you can formulate your arguments coherently and make a presentation, if you can speak to people, if you can lay out a proposal, God, people give you money, they give you opportunities, you have influence. That's what you're at university for. And so that's what you do. Is you're in English, right? And yeah, in languages anyways. It's like, yeah, teach people to be articulate, because that's the most dangerous thing you can possibly be. So, and that's motivating if people know that. It's like, well, why are you learning to write? Because here's your sword, here's your M16, right? Here's your bulletproof vest. Like, you learn how to use them. But it's an endless mystery to me why that isn't made self-evident. So that's the sort of thing that can drive you mad trying to sort out. It's like there's a conspiracy to bring people into the education system to make them weaker. So I guess that keeps the competition down. Maybe that's one way of thinking about it. If your students are stupid, they're not going to challenge you. So
thank you. So first of all, thank you both for doing this. Dr. Peterson, it's such an honor to have you here. As embarrassing as what's happening out there is for Queen's University, I think what it does more than anything is show how important what we're doing here is and how weak those people are. So thank you, first of all. In terms of my question, I think most people here believe that it's extremely important in everything that we're doing to speak our mind, to speak freely. That's why we're here. But in terms of practicality, there's a lot of things that get in the way of our lives as students. You know, we have our GPA to look out for, a job prospective. So in terms of practicality, what are kind of maybe your tips and your perspective on the steps that students can take to kind of speak their mind while not sacrificing kind of their future perspectives?
Well, I can tell you a couple of things that are very practical. Don't write in your essays what you think the professor wants to hear. There's absolutely no excuse whatsoever for doing that. Now, first of all, most professors, even those who have descended into a state of ideological possession, let's say, most of them still have enough character to grade an essay that's well written properly. So you're actually taking less of a risk than you would think by stating what you have to state. But look, if you start practicing when you're in university, when the stakes are rather low, pandering to the audience, let's say, and saying what you think will get you by, you're going to train yourself to do that. And what that means is you're going to train yourself in the falsification of your character. And your character is the only thing you have to guide you through life. You know, people dream of riches and they dream of luxury and all of that, but that's a thin defense against the harsh realities of the world. You have your character. And so what you do when you go to university is you learn to say what you think as clearly as you can, and to take the slings and arrows that come along with that. Not in an arrogant manner, right? Because like, what the hell do you know? You know, so you've got plenty to learn, but you want to formulate your thoughts carefully. You want to write what you think. Well, why? Because when you're writing, you're thinking. You're laying out the arguments that you're going to use to structure your existence in the world throughout your entire life. And if you start to twist and bend those for expedient reasons, you're going to warp your soul. And I mean, I could talk about that neurophysiologically if you want to, you know. You become what you practice. You automate what you practice. So if you automate expedient speech for the sake of short-term gain, then that's what you're going to produce. You're going to produce expedient speech for short-term gain. Well, God help you if you do that. Like, there is nothing that you will possibly do in your entire life that will serve you better than to get control of your voice in university. And so you do that by reading, right? You read great people. You do that by writing what you think. You stay true to yourself while you write what you think, and you take the risks and you gain the benefits that go along with that. You learn to stand up and speak and to listen carefully. And that makes you a negotiator of unparalleled power. And if you're a negotiator of unparalleled power, there's nothing in the world that won't open itself up to you. So that's what you're doing in university. And if you find professors who reject that, and there's fewer of them than you might think, then it's your sacred obligation to stand up for yourself against that. Because it's going to happen to you throughout your whole life, and you might as well start practicing how to do it right now. So that's how it looks to me.
Yeah, there's an old saying that I write. I write in order to know what I think. And you'll note how compelled speech interferes in that process, yes?
Well,